What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are going to cover some news topics today. First one I want to talk about is the Ukraine Russia war. But interesting title: Ukraine's frontline troops are getting older. Physically, I can't handle this, is a quote from one of the older guys that has been enlisted. But yeah, dude, I don't know, man. These guys are now, 50, 60. I've even heard of 70-year-olds, pregnant women out there. It sounds like they're getting pretty desperate. I know we're waiting on Washington right now to approve another $60 billion package for aid. We'll see if that ends up kind of panning out for them. I'm sure you guys saw the news with Trump and the whole Supreme Court situation in Colorado where they have voted to keep him off the ballot. Not much to say there other than that just seems to be crazy to me. Um, China, Beijing, they're fighting their own culture war at home. As we know, they have been doing some cyber attacks here in America on our infrastructure, so like water, uh, gas companies, gas lines, oil companies. Um, so we really need to start thinking about that because what if they do shut down our uh, electrical grid? It sounds crazy, but it definitely could happen. Um, I know a lot of people that prep and people that view other preppers tend to think that they're prepping for, the next big war, but I don't I do think we're in the beginning stages of World War III. But I think it's going to look a lot different than past wars. I think it's definitely going to be a lot of cyber attack situations where they shut the grid down or attempt to shut the grid down. Yeah, they might do an EMP eventually, but I think they're going to just start out with cyber attacks, which could 100% shut everything down. Um, so we need to be definitely, you guys need to be stocking up on water, food, ways to filter water. I mean, gosh, they say a gallon per day per person. Well, I mean, do the math, but it's like I have 135 gallons of water right now. Dude, that's gone in no time. There's three people that live in this house, sometimes five, depending on if the older kids are here. So 135 gallons is not going to last long. So ideally, I need a lot more water. Now, what I do have is ways, like multiple ways to filter water, and that's really what you're going to need. You need the tablets to help purify the water, filters. There's life straws, which the life straws are great. I don't think that's something you'd want to rely on day to day. So some kind of gravity system where you could load up, a couple gallons of water, hang it up, let gravity do its thing, and filter water that way. Because you start, especially like if you buy the emergency supply tubs of food, well, that's great, but all those require water. So if you don't have water, you're not going to be able to make those basically MRE packets because that's the number one ingredient is water. So definitely start thinking about ways that you can stock up on water. I'm ordering some 55-gallon drums that we can fill up, and then what I'll do is put the water solution in there so that that water is good for up to 5 years. Ideally, we want to be able to filter water into those jugs, so that's kind of the next step for me. Look, like I'm not a professional prepper. In fact, I would argue that I'm new to this world, and so it can be very overwhelming. A lot of people, especially if you watch some of the bigger channels like what's his name? The Canadian prepper guy, the Alaskan prepper. I mean, there's so many of them. City prepper. God, I love City prepper. That guy's been around forever. And if you really want to know the ins and outs, he's got a video on everything. So I highly recommend any of the three that I just listed. They're fantastic. But those guys have so much stuff prepped, and so when I watch them, I'm like, I just feel like I'm behind. I don't even know how I would catch up. I feel like it's crunch time. I feel like any day something could happen. So I just feel like I'm desperate at this point to prepare my family. And listening to City Prepper the other day, one of the advices that he gave, which I found very valuable, and I'm going to stick to that myself. But he was like, start off small. Like, don't go big. Start off with a week supply of food, a week supply of water, and then start increasing from there. Um, I think I'm probably up to. I mean, I'm definitely up to a few months as far as food goes. Water, not so much. So definitely, I need to start pumping out the water a lot more. So anyway, point is, like, if you're new to this, like me, I am new. We're gonna all go through this together. Um, you can learn with me. We can learn together. Spread the word, but just take it slow. Like, right? I mean, if you have to right now, because I food is expensive. Everything's expensive. So if you got to just do a 72-hour food and water supply, then just do that. It is better than nothing. So highly recommend start stocking up on some of that, what you can afford. Don't go broke doing this. Don't run up credit cards. You don't want to get yourself in a financial situation that's terrible. So just start off slow, um, and work your way up. That's what I suggest there. So I was looking over here at, where was it at? Oh, here, let's see. I thought this article was interesting. It says, is the US in a silent depression? Economists weigh in on the viral TikTok theory. So this is by Jessica Dickler with CNBC. The U.S. economy has remained remarkably strong, but affordability is worse than it has ever been. Some social media users say when compared to the Great Depression. One of the TikTok's latest trends, coined the silent depression, aims to explain how key expenses such as housing, transportation, and food account for an increasing share of the average American's take home pay. It's harder today to get by than it was during the worst economic period in the country's history, according to some TikTok users. Dude, I mean, yeah, I wildly agree with that. Housing, anybody trying to buy a house right now, the interest rates are what, they're up like 7.5%. That's I couldn't imagine buying the house that we have right now and the interest being 7.5%. And I think ours is around, when we bought, was it's around 3%. So, you know, over double in interest, and interest rates on a home makes a huge difference. I mean, of course it does on a car, but you see it wildly more with a home. And then food, good lord, man. I mean, I know you guys remember going out and hitting the grocery store, and it was so easy to go in there, get what you needed, get out, totally under $100. Like, simple. Not anymore. I don't know the last time that I was at the grocery store and walked out with my bill being less than $100. So, in fact, I just went this morning. The Target bill was 120. Then I ran over to Walmart to get some other things, and it was 190. So combine those, I mean, outrageous. Right now, fuel. is actually really good here where I'm at in Kansas. I think it was 261, I believe, when I filled up the other day. So fuel's not horrible, but uh, so I mean, go to California. I'm sure that looks wildly different. Uh, Apparently, economists strongly disagree with that above paragraph about it being a silent depression. Any notion from TikTok that life was better in 1923 than it is now is divorced from reality, says Columbia Business School economics professor Brett House. Compared to 100 years ago, today life expectancies are much longer. Okay, yeah, I agree, but we're not talking about life expectancies. And what will our life expectancies look like when World War III does start, if it does, and shipping lanes are shut down, food supplies aren't coming, water's not coming, medicine's not coming, help's not coming, nothing's coming. So yeah, what will life expectancies look like then? He goes on to say the opportunities to realize one's potential are much greater. Human rights are more widely respected, and access to information and education is widely expanded. Yeah, I mean, okay, I agree with that. That is not what they were talking about. Even when just looking at the numbers, the country has continued to expand since COVID-19 pandemic, sidestepping earlier recessionary forecast. Officially, the National Bureau of Economic Research defines a recession as a significant decline in economic activity that is spread across the economy and lasts for more than a few months. There have been more than a dozen recessions in the last century, some lasting as long as a year and a half. So I would say we are there. But those three paragraphs, he doesn't talk about the food, the cost of houses, car. I mean, go buy a vehicle right now. Go buy a truck. Oh my lord! I mean, $100,000 for a pickup. What are we talking about? So yeah, I don't know what he's talking about there. The only depression the U.S. ever experienced in the industrial time spanned a decade, from the stock market crash in 1929 till 1939, when the U.S. began mobilizing for World War II, which that could be happening. I would argue is happening now. I feel like we're starting to mobilize for sure for something. A depression is a totally different order of magnitude. Susan Hausman, research director at the WE up, Upjohn Institute for Employment Research, told CNBC, we haven't seen anything like it for 80 to 90 years. In fact, the latest quarterly gross domestic product report, which tracks the overall health of the economy, rose more than expected. With the Federal Reserve effort to bring down inflation has so far been successful, a rare feat in economic history. So, okay, where's your stats on the Federal Reserve's effort to bring down inflation? I mean, I don't see that. If you guys see it, let me know in the comments. But yeah, not something I'm seeing. The central bank signaled in its latest economic projections that it will cut interest rates in 2024, even with the economy still growing. Okay, so the key word there, they've signaled. So they haven't done it. So interest rates in 2024, even with the economy still growing, which would be the sought after path to a soft landing, where inflation returns to the Fed's 2% target without causing a significant rise in unemployment. So I just watched a video the other day on this whole soft landing crap. And I don't know who coined the term, but they were talking about how it's just a BS term. There's no validity to it. There is not going to be a soft landing when all this goes down. So that, of course, this is CNBC, so they vomit all the same talking points as everyone else. To be sure, the economy it is slowing and the job market is cooling, but we are not in a depression, said Sung Won Soo, professor of finance and economics at Loyola Marymount University and chief economist at SS Economics. The unemployment rate declined to 3.7% in November. The U.S. Department of Labor most recently reported, and the ratio of openings to available workers is 1.3 to 1, a far cry from 25% employment rate in the 1930s. So again, okay, I I'm sure that statistic is accurate. Again, just because people are still employed right now doesn't mean that we're not in a silent depression by any means. I mean, I know that all these people that are employed, and I talk to them. I mean, we all have friends, we all have family, and they're living paycheck to paycheck. The number one complaint right now is going to the grocery store. Going to the grocery store is just it's outrageous. Now wages are rising faster than inflation, boosting buying power, he said. This is hardly a depression. Okay. Wages are rising faster than inflation. Okay, he's saying that. Show me that because I know that's not true. I know that my wages went up, I believe 3% this year. Mm-mm. The food has gone up like 65%, 80%. Yeah, math doesn't add up there. So yeah, show me where you're coming up with that. Inflation's been hitting the poor more than the rich. But okay, so inflation has been hitting the poor more than the rich. But I thought you said there was really no inflation. Again, makes no sense. But regardless of the country's economic standing, many Americans are struggling in the face of sky high prices for everyday items, and most have exhausted their savings and are now leaning on credit cards to make ends meet. Again, food. We talked about that. Clothing. I know people are trying to, get out and do some Christmas shopping. Good luck. So I don't know. They're talking out of both sides of their mouth here. Lower income families have been particularly hard hit, said Thomas Phillipson, a professor of public policy studies at the University of Chicago and former acting chair of the White House Council of Economic Advisors. So, of course, he was on the White House Council at one point. So, take that with a grain of salt. The lowest paid workers spend more of their income on necessities such as food, rent, gas, categories that also experience higher than average inflation spikes. Inflation has been hitting the poor more than the rich in terms of share of real income loss because it has been relatively higher for categories that make up larger shares of household budgets, Phillipson said. The housing market weighs in on this sentiment here. Housing, especially, has weighed on many Americans' opinion about how the nation overall is faring, regardless of what the data says. Year to date, home prices nationally have risen 6.1%, much more than the median full calendar year increase over the past 35 years, according to the S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller Index. Mortgage rates have pulled back, but are still above 7%. So yeah, earlier I said 7.5. I think that's pretty close to where they're at, maybe 7.25. And there remains a very low supply of homes for sale. That explains why Americans feel so bad about their own financial standings, even when the country is in good shape, House said. Since homeownership is the biggest investment decision most people make in their lifetimes, the real estate market is likely dampening many Americans' feelings about the U.S. economy. So, yeah, I mean, for sure, I don't think we're doing so hot in that department. So, moving over to this is from the Jerusalem Post. Video shows Hamas commander alive and well after 7 assassination attempts. Mohammed Dif, the leader of Hamas Al Qassam brigades, whom Israel has been hunting down for years, is alive and kicking, in all senses of the word, according to the footage recently obtained by the IDF. So, yeah, I'm not trying to get up in all the different political views on this situation, but those are the facts. Muhammad is still alive and doing well. So probably not good if you're Israel to have one of the main Hamas leaders still alive. In one of the videos sees during an intelligence gathering operation inside the Gaza Strip, Mohammed is seen walking on his own 2 feet, albeit with a slight limp. From these videos, it now appears that Mohammed's condition is significantly better than Israel had believed following a long series of attacks, some of which wounded him. Muhammad is able to walk on his own and does not use a wheelchair. He probably has use of both his hands. So, yeah, interesting. So, Hamas leader's still alive and well. Probably not good. We did talk about the shipping lanes. I know the U.S. military is sending more Navy troops over to that region to try to help with securing the shipping lanes because, man, if the shipping lanes go down, if we think the cost of food or clothing or gas or oil, whatever, anything, those shipping lanes go down, everything's empty. All the shelves are empty, food's empty. I'm not gonna be able to get any, over the counter drugs. So, man, it's going to be so important that they get in there and get those shipping lanes secured. Also, something of interest. Where is that? I wanted to cover White House. Oh, well, yeah, accuses Texas of demonizing. Let's open this. White House accused Texas of demonizing migrants and putting their lives at risk with Greg Abbott's new law allowing cops to detain and deport border crossers. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre called a new Texas law extreme and said it will endanger the migrants trying to cross the southern border. On Monday, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed a law that would allow local and state law enforcement to arrest and deport illegal border crossers without going through federal government channels. It has already resulted in lawsuits from Democrats and immigrant rights groups. I mean, look, man, I was a cop in Arizona, so I've lived on the border. I'm in Kansas now. This is where I grew up. So after I retired from law enforcement, I moved back here. We don't see it here, and I'm sure most of the country doesn't see it. They don't realize that there's an immigration problem because you just don't see it day to day. And really the only way people know about it is if, they're looking at the news and, God forbid which channel you listen to on that, they'll tell you there's nothing going on. And then if you really do your research, you can see the facts. I mean, last night there were 7,000 illegals crossing in one spot in Texas. One spot. I mean, the border's huge, right? So one town, 7,000 coming across, and Border Patrol got all their paperwork. They say got all their paperwork done and released them into our country. Have you tried to get a passport? Have you tried to get a driver's license, a new social security card? I mean, good God, it takes months. So, how these people are getting 7,000 people some kind of legal document to be in our country overnight? There's no way. There's just no way. So, I digress, but I can trust me, go to the border. It is not what CNN's telling you it is. It's not what Washington D.C. is telling you. It is a mess, and hundreds of thousands of people are coming across every year. Well, what does that lead to? Well, we know Hamas is crossing the border. Terrorists are coming across right and left. I mean, our own FBI. Look, folks, if the FBI comes out and tells you we're in trouble and be prepared for an attack, we're in dire straits because they don't ever come out and just give us a heads up. So they're saying attacks anytime now. I know they've been saying it for a couple weeks now. They're saying before Christmas, well, 5 days until Christmas, they're warning churches to be careful. Hamas has put out hits on Christian churches. So, anyway, border. It is way worse than anyone knows unless you live on the border. Uh, do you guys remember when they started shipping some of the illegals like to New York? And New York was like, oh, everybody's welcome, sanctuary cities, full panic mode when they started dumping them off of there because they realized immediately these people don't have homes, they don't have money, they don't have food, they don't have water, obviously no shelter. So it is taxing their resources as a city, and it is eating up every dime they have to try to help these people. Okay, and that's just a few hundred that were dropped off there. Imagine being El Paso. Imagine being on the southern border of Arizona, where thousands are coming in daily. There's no way we just can't do it. And I'm not against. I mean, I would love every Hispanic in Mexico to live here. I have no issues with them living here. We just got to do it the right way, the legal way. And having said that, I don't know what it takes to do it legally. I've heard it's quite the process. It can be expensive, it can be slow. So maybe the United States needs to look at a way to streamline that and make it more feasible for someone to come here. And that's okay. I mean, if I have no doubt that we haven't made it difficult. Again, have you tried as an American citizen just to get a social security card? So yeah, I can't imagine trying to get citizenship from another country. So yeah, maybe we need to look at that. Maybe we need to revamp that and make that process easier. But again, I have no problem with any of them coming here. We just got to do it the right way. We got to know who's coming in and secure the border. It's not hard. I don't think, I mean, the people I know are not like, oh, keep all Hispanics out. We don't want them. That's not it at all. I grew up in Emporia, Kansas. It's a town full of Hispanics because of all the industrial plants that we have there. And I mean, I was the minority. 90% of that town's Hispanic. All my friends are Hispanic. It's anyone that tries to tell you it's about race, it's not. It's all about, again, terrorists coming across the border, which we know are coming across the border. Our own government has warned us within the last few weeks that they're coming across the border, yet we keep the thing wide open. Seems crazy to me. So that's kind of the issue right now on the border. Let's get a Zuckerberg update. How Mark Zuckerberg is turning an idyllic corner of Hawaii into a Bond villain compound where his family can see out the apocalypse. So this has been coming up a lot lately. Well, a lot of millionaires and billionaires are starting to build these compounds. Well, what do they know that we don't? With its blast-proof doors, huge underground bunker, and fortress-like security, it sounds more like a Bond villain's lair than a family home. So that's interesting. Hang on, I'm just moving something here. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And in fact, the $212 million compound Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, 39, is building on the Hawaii island of Kauai is only 10 miles from the home of former 007 Pierce Brosnan. Oh, great. Thanks for that little nugget. However, while the star of the Golden Eye and Tomorrow Never Dies can sometimes be seen cycling around laid back surfer town, there is nothing subdue about Silicon Valley billionaire Zuckerberg's efforts to turn 1,400 acres of unspoilt coast into a home where he, his wife, in their family can sit out the apocalypse. In doing so, critics say he has ridden roughshod over ancient indigenous property rights and indulged in a paranoid passion for privacy that looks deeply hypocritical from the man who's made his fortune from monetizing other people's private information. Zuckerberg's venture is one of the most ambitious private construction projects in North American history and will see the building not only of two mansions but an entire village of outhouses. Ordinary, ordinary islanders who complain about no longer being able to afford even a modest home are unhappy about Zuckerberg's plans revealed after public record applications by technology magazine Wired. The sprawling compound, which is already under construction and which Zuckerberg's called Kahlua Ranch, includes more than a dozen buildings, including several guest houses, which have a total of more than 30 bedrooms and bathrooms. At the center of the two mansions, with a total floor area at 55,000 square feet to that of the American football pitch. The two houses boast lifts, offices, conference rooms, and industrial sized kitchens. Another building is featured in a full size gym, pool, sauna, hot tub, cold plunge, pool, and tennis courts. See, okay. I had a news alert come through. I wanted to make sure there wasn't missing something there that we might want to talk about. Yeah. So I mean, come on, guys. Gym, pool, saunas, hot tubs, cold plunge, tennis court. I mean, I don't know. I get it. They want to hate on him. The dude's rich, but I mean, can you honestly say if you didn't have his money, you wouldn't do the same thing? I mean, I would. I'd have the most pimped out compound ever. Why wouldn't you? I mean, that's why I sit here and prep now is to take care of my family. So I wouldn't be any different. If I had lots of money, I would just have bigger, better things, I guess. So, yeah, that's a little bit about the Zuck. People are up in arms over that. But yeah, I think other than that, that's kind of the big news. We're starting to get the end of the year stories. So this one's titled, this is from The Guardian, Marvel Crypto Tucker Carlson, 8 of 2023's most spectacular downfalls. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, if you follow in Tucker at all, yeah, there's no downfall. He's fine. He's got his own show going. He's going to be wildly successful with that. Remember, 2022, Elon Musk had just been named Times Person of the Year. Marvel still ruled the box office. Tucker Carlson was the most watched host on cable news, and it seemed as if all life was going to take place on the blockchain. The Staples Center in LA had been rechristened, and the Crypto.com Arena and Yuga Labs, the company behind Bored Ape Yacht Club, was valued at $4 billion. What a difference a year makes. 2023 has seen the crash of digital currency, which, by the way, is going up drastically. So funny that they're saying that. The flatlining of NFTs, that one's accurate. And I never understood NFTs. I don't that was a that whole world was bizarre to me. I don't know why anyone would do the NFT thing. And maybe it's just because I don't know enough about it, but whatever. And the floundering of blockbuster franchises. Previously beloved musicians took on a more sinister edge. A celebrated social network imploded, and a TV show became the biggest faceplant in the network's 5-decade history. Below, experts from the worlds of tech, politics, and the arts give the inside track on the sacred cows that have been put out to pasture, the buzzing upstarts that faced a reckoning, and the lessons that can be learned for the future. Crypto. So when the investigative journalist Zeke Fox first pitched a book about crypto in 2021, digital currency was at its peak. Bitcoin had hit an all-time high of 69,000. So and it did fall. Like Bitcoin was had dropped from 69 to like 16,000. Well, let's see. It was back up to 42,000. Let's see what today. Okay, so it's up more today. It's up to 43,000. So yeah, it did crash from 69. It crashed wildly, but they're leaving out the part where today it's up to 43. So anyway, English soccer teams were being sponsored by crypto exchanges or wearing Dogecoins on their sleeve. Sam Bankman-Fried, founder of the crypto marketplace FTX, was being hailed as the tech's next great innovator. Only Zuck has been as rich as 23 billion. This young 29 read the covers of Forbes. I thought the whole thing was pretty dumb, says Fox, who published Number Go Up, Inside Crypto's Wild Rise and Staggering Fall this September. It turns out I should have been even more skeptical. This year's been crushing for crypto. What? Yeah, I mean, everybody knows about uh, Sam Bankman. I mean, total fraud, took billions, was living on an island, doing drugs. If you want to look into that more, you can. He's in court now, so. In fact, I think he was just. No, I don't want to say that, but I know the court stuff's going on. So if you want to know about that, look it up. Marvel took a dump, which I could care less about. Disney, Marvel, any of that stuff. Oh, they're getting into Twitter. So, since acquiring the company in October of 22 and changing its name to what everyone hates, Musk, an impetus free speech, has turned it into a barely functional health site that platforms racist sex workers and rewards far right influence with 5-figure payouts. X is currently worth 19 billion, less than half of what Musk bought it for. So again, who's coming up with these numbers? Uh, I haven't seen it being race. I mean, obviously there's racist things everywhere. Hell, I see that on Facebook. But I don't see a lot of that. I don't think our country is as racist as the media makes us out to be. So, uh, yeah, I mean, he just wants free speech. Yeah, a bunch of advertisers are pulling. Yeah, whatever. Go away. I mean, yeah, he's going to lose advertisers that don't agree with him, but he's also going to bring on advertisers that do agree with him. So I'm not really sweating that whole deal. I think Elon will be fine. He'll get his whole little X thing turned around here. The metaverse. Yeah. Speaking of, I mean, the whole metaverse with Zuck. Yeah, that took a dump. So he sunk $36 billion into this whole metaverse. Citi once estimated that the metaverse could be worth 13 trillion by 2030, but Facebook's big gamble turned out to be haunted in all the wrong ways. Users found Horizon Worlds basic, blocky, and buggy, far cry from the cutting edge games like Roblox and Fortnite. Last year, Meta said that 200,000 people logged onto the app each month. The YouTuber Jarvis Johnson recently put it at 900 a day at the beginning of the year. It felt like the metaverse was a joke. says Joanne McNeil, a culture and tech journalist and the author of the novel Wrong Way. Now we've reached the point of irrelevance. So good job, Zuck. Tucker Carlson, Fox News. Tucker Carlson tonight was an incoherent boob of conjectures and conspiracy theories with flat out lies about the mostly peaceful January 6th protesters, petty personal grudges dressed up as warnings against wokeism, and the fixation on the Great Replacement, a racist conspiracy theory that immigrants are being imported to the U.S. to edge out its nationals. You know, I can only say so much about that entire paragraph, but yeah, January 6th, do your own research. So many videos are coming out that were not released. All I can say, I don't want to get demonetized or get a X, but do your research on January 6th. By 2020, Tucker, it was the most watched show on cable news, and Carlson among the American right's most influential figures behind closed doors. Carlson threw his weight around a network still reeling from a cataclysmic sexual assault allegations against its former boss. He's a frat boy at heart, says Alex Shepard, senior editor at the New Inquiry. He does not like to be told what to do. After Roger Ailes, some of Carlson's behavior was him trying to tell Fox he was bigger than the network. After exiting the network this April, Carlson dodged lawsuits. Carlson said it wasn't the last we'd hear from him. There aren't many places left to find Americans saying true things, Carlson said. One such place turned out to be X, where Carlson currently hosts a daily show featuring an all-star lineup of guests, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, Vivek Ramsey, and the guy who claims to have had sex with Barack Obama. His own network started with a whimper this December. It promises to tell the unadorned truth, and hearing it will set you back $72 a year. Yeah, I mean, I think, dude, Tucker's brought on some heavy hitters. I think Tucker's going to be just fine. It's, you know, of course, the media's tearing apart themselves, and they continue to do so. So I think this video has definitely gone on. We're at 42 minutes, gone on long enough. So those are just some of the topics for today. Make sure that you start prepping. So go out and buy 5 gallons of water. Get you enough food for 72 hours. Start there. Work your way up to a week, then 2 weeks and a month. You get it. It's a process. I won't get into much more on it. I mean, I could talk for days about that, but yeah, get out there, start prepping a little bit. Think about where you're living. Is it cold there? Is it hot there? Have ways to heat your home, cool your home. Just start thinking about what if we lose power? I mean, even if it's just 24 hours without power, 72 hours. Texas, last winter, their power was out, some places for 2 weeks, and it was freezing cold. What would you do if that happened today? How would you heat your home? How would you stay warm? How would you keep your family warm? Just start thinking about those things and start preparing. Uh, until next time, I hope that this first ever little podcast that I've done, tried to do it live. It's just easier. I don't have to do a whole bunch of editing. I don't want to get into all that. So I will be back on probably tomorrow. I'm still trying to figure out a schedule. Obviously, the best way to do this is to have a schedule so everyone knows when to watch. I know today was not 100% smooth. It is the first one. We'll keep working on it. See the tires in the back. I do love sim racing. In fact, I'm sitting at my sim rig right now. Maybe one of these days I'll give you guys a tour if you want to check out the sim rig. it's my hobby. It's what I do for fun. So yeah, maybe if you guys have any interest in seeing the sim, let me know and I'll give you guys a little bit of a tour. So anyway, hopefully, like I said, this will get smoother. I'll start speaking better. I was trying to catch myself every time I went which made me realize I say it an awful lot. So I need to work on my English vocabulary. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow. Hope you all have a great week and stay safe.